The mid-morning sun burned through the last wisps of fog hanging over the small town of Riverside. The streets were quiet except for the occasional groan of an old pickup passing by. Inside a weathered brick garage on the corner of Main and Pine, the sharp tang of motor oil lingered in the air. Emma Carter knelt beside the open hood of an aging Ford, her hands blackened with grease, her denim overalls streaked with oil. She was 29, with a face that carried both youth and the quiet weariness of someone who had been holding the world together with sheer willpower. The garage had been her father's pride before his health failed, leaving Emma to keep the business alive. Business wasn't exactly booming. Most folks in town were slow to pay, and the bills didn't care about small-town decency. But Emma refused to cut corners. She fixed every truck and tractor that rolled into her lot like it was her own, even when she knew the customer's wallet was as empty as hers. That's why, on that quiet Tuesday morning, she didn't think twice when a weather-beaten Peterbilt rolled up to her garage, its engine sputtering like it was on its last breath. The driver was a tall man in his late 40s with sun-creased skin, steel-gray hair tucked under a faded ball cap, and eyes so tired they looked like they'd seen more nights than days. "Name's Jack," he said, his voice gravelly from years on the road. "She's running rough, and I'm not sure I can make it much farther without breaking down completely." Emma glanced at the truck, a beauty in her own eyes despite the faded paint and the miles etched into every bolt. She could tell right away it wasn't just a quick fix. "Leave her here," Emma said, pulling her gloves on. "I'll see what I can do." Jack hesitated. "I don't exactly have the cash right now. Just need to make it to Chicago. I can pay you when." Emma waved him off. "I'm not about to let you break down on the highway. Let's get her fixed, money or no money." His eyes searched hers like he was trying to figure out if she was serious. Most mechanics would have sent him packing. But Emma had already crawled under the truck, muttering about a faulty injector and a cracked fuel line. Jack stood by, watching her work with the practiced hands of someone who didn't just repair. She rescued. Took nearly 5 hours. Emma's hands ached, and her knees were sore from kneeling on cold concrete. By late afternoon, the truck's deep rumble filled the garage, smoother now, steady as a heartbeat. Jack stood there with a look that was equal parts gratitude and disbelief. "I don't know how to thank you," he said finally. Emma smiled faintly, wiping her hands. "Get home safe. That'll be thanks enough." He offered to leave his watch as collateral, a sturdy, scratched timepiece that had probably seen more miles than she had. She refused. They shook hands, his grip firm but warm, and then he climbed into the cab and disappeared down Main Street in a plume of diesel smoke. Days turned into weeks. Emma thought about him once or twice but assumed that was the end of it. Life at the garage returned to its usual grind, changing tires for folks who couldn't remember to check their tread, welding rusted farm equipment, chasing invoices from customers who forgot to pay. Some nights, she closed up shop and wondered if she was clinging to her father's dream more than her own. Then, one Thursday afternoon, the air shifted. She was tightening the last bolt on a customer's Jeep when she heard it. The deep, slow growl of a diesel engine outside. Not the quick rattle of a delivery truck, but a low, deliberate hum that seemed to vibrate in her chest. Emma wiped her hands and stepped into the sunlight. A massive flatbed trailer had pulled up in front of her garage. It gleamed in the afternoon light, chrome rails polished to a mirror finish. The driver's door swung open, and Jack climbed down. Same weathered cap, same calm eyes. But this time, there was a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Afternoon, Emma," he called, his voice carrying over the hiss of the air brakes. She walked toward him, brow furrowed. "Jack? I thought you were halfway across the country." "I was," he said simply. "But I owed you, and I don't like owing people." He gestured toward the flatbed. Emma followed his gaze, and her breath caught. On the trailer sat a fully restored 1968 Chevy C10 pickup. The paint was a deep ocean blue, the chrome spotless, the kind of truck that made every gearhead stop and stare. The license plate read Carter. Emma's throat tightened. "Jack, what is this?" "Consider it a thank you," he said. "I picked her up at an auction a few states over. Figured you'd give her the kind of home she deserves. You didn't have to help me, but you did without hesitation. That's rare. She shook her head, overwhelmed. Jack, I can't accept this. You can, he said firmly. And you will, because sometimes the only way to keep good people doing good things is to show them it matters. The sunlight glinted off the truck's polished hood. Emma could see her reflection. Oil stains, tired eyes, and all, staring back at her. In that moment, she realized it wasn't just about the truck. It was about the reminder that kindness had value, even if it wasn't measured in dollars. The small town street had grown quiet. A few neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispering at the sight of the gleaming flatbed outside Emma's modest garage. Jack handed her the keys, his hand warm and steady. I better get back on the road, he said. But I'll be seeing you. And just like that, he was gone. The empty trailer humming down Main Street, leaving behind a piece of himself in the form of steel, chrome, and gratitude. Emma stood there for a long time, keys in her palm, the sun sinking behind her garage. Somewhere deep in her chest, the heavy knot she'd carried for months began to loosen. She smiled, not just for the gift, but for the reminder that good deeds have a way of finding their way back home.